everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Katie, for those who have for some reason forgotten, and this is Books for Us. So today, it's the 29th. The month will end tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yes? Maybe? I don't know. Anyways, it'll end soon, and I wanted to do a wrap-up of all of the wonderful books I read during June, which was Pride Month. Now, many of these are Pride books in one way or another. There are like 3 that weren't, but there's a reason, and I will get to why they weren't. But anyways, so with that, I will continue with what books I read during Pride Month. The first is called Beast by Bree Spangler. This, I believe I got through an Owl Crate book or Barnes & Noble. Let me check. Usually it says like on the inside. This isn't telling me one way or another, so I'm guessing I got this from the Barnes & Noble. Yeah, I think I got this from Barnes & Noble. It's a really cute book. It's about this boy whose nickname is Beast, because he has hair pretty much everywhere, and a lot of it. And then he is in group therapy, where he meets this girl who on the first day that he's there kind of tells the group something that he misses because he was completely zoning out. So throughout the book, you follow their relationship as it kind of changes and grows, as well as him figuring out what that thing was, what her secret is. Going along with this, spoiler alert, she's trans. I think it tells right on the cover, so I'm not giving too much away. I'm not giving the ending away, I should say. But yeah, so that's why it made a great Pride book. Awesome cover too. I really like this cover. It's really, for me, it reminds me of the book Pride, like the cover at least, by Ivy Zaboy. The next book I read was actually, I think this is an ARC. It could be an ARC. Review copy only that I got from my library. They were giving away books, as they usually do during meetings. And it's called LGBTQ Revised Updated 3rd Edition, The Survival Guide for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Questioning Teens. And this is the cover. And the author is Kelly Madron. I won't pronounce the last name because I can't. But anyways, this is just like a nonfiction book, more geared towards teens who identify as LGBTQ+, that talk about different resources they can have at their disposal, either in this book or online. It also talks about, being healthy and coming out and what you can do. There is a chapter on being trans in here, which is a revision from the last edition, which is pretty nice. I think this is a good overview, but I think it didn't go into much specifics on different letters, like LGBTQ plus letters, besides the trans chapter. It really didn't go into much detail about like what everything is, but I don't think that was the point of this book. There are some other books that you can go to, like I like This Book is Gay and the ABCs of LGBTQ plus. So either of those books would work, but this is mainly like just a survival guide for LGBTQ plus teens, which I kind of liked. Again, geared more towards teens, so I should have read it if you're like when I was back in high school, but what can you do? The next 2 books I read are part of a series that I started, and well, there's a 3rd one coming out, so I haven't finished it. And that is The Witch Boy and The Hidden Witch. This is an uncorrected proof because, again, I got it from my library. It is also actually thinner than The Witch Boy. Anyways, both of these are by Molly Knox Ostertag. I feel like I've talked about these before. I probably have in a previous video. But basically, it's about Aster, who's this guy, living with his family and extended family in their like kind of like their family home, and how he has to learn to I don't know what they call it in here. Shapeshifts. They shapeshift. All the boys shapeshift, and the girls learn magic, but he doesn't want to shapeshift. He wants to learn magic. So it's all being accepted by his family for, being magic minded rather than shapeshifter minded. This one, The Hidden Witch, I should say, The Hidden Witch is about his friend who is not part of the community, who is followed around by this dark shadow thing. So that's kind of the thing in the second book, but it's all about like accepting yourself. It's not like it's not specifically like a trans book because it's not jet. It gets kind of tricky, but it's not like he doesn't want to become a not become that becomes the wrong word. He doesn't identify as a girl. That's the phrasing of it. He doesn't identify as a girl. He just knows he wants to do magic, which in that world is a girl thing. So it's like that whole thing of like doing something that the other gender is known for doing, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, those are really good books. They're middle grade books, and I absolutely love them. The next one I read is Stonewall, The Riots That Sparked the Gay Revolution by David Carter. I will say before continuing on that I had this in my backpack and my water bottle wasn't closed all the way, so hence why it looks kind of funky right now because it dried weird. Anyways, so I could be wrong on this. I could be completely wrong, but this is a very early book on what happened at the Stonewall riots. I don't know if it's the first. I think it's the first. I could be wrong though again. But basically, this talks about kind of what led up to the riots, um, like why the riots happened, basically, and then what happened during the riots, and then what happened like directly after the riots, like the year or so after the riots, what happened. So it's really like I really liked it. It was actually our book club book this month. I did, however, think it focused on the cis white gay males. Um, and it didn't like Marsha P. Johnson, who is like a big figure for Stonewall, the Stonewall riots. She's mentioned maybe 5 times in here, and her story's not followed at all. She's a trans activist of color, a trans activist of color, and you really didn't see many of the people of color like in this book at all. You saw like the drag queens a bit, but it was more of like, oh, like because there's interviews in this. The interviewee would say, oh yeah, the drag queens would be the ones heading up the riots or whatever the case may be. But that was pretty much it. You didn't really get any quotes or anything from the trans community or the drag queens in this book. However, I think it was a really good book and suggested to anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more about why the Stonewall riots happened. The next ones were the ones I was talking about before that weren't pride related, but I read them anyways. The first one is Target Practice, which is the first book in the Cleopatra in Space series by Mike Myhack. Graphic novel for middle grades. It basically follows Cleopatra when she touches a tablet and is like brought to space, basically, and she has to do all this stuff. Again, it's the first one in the series, so you're not exactly sure what like the point is. Like it's interesting to see her go through all of this stuff that she goes through in the book, but I didn't see an overarching arc to carry it through to the next book type thing. But I just have to wait till my copy of the second book cuts in. That's all. The next two books are books 3 and 4 in the Scooby Apocalypse series, which is a graphic novel series by Keith Giffen. I really liked this series actually. I loved Supernatural. Oh, not Supernatural. Scooby Doo. I loved Scooby Doo as a kid. I bring up Supernatural because there was a Supernatural crossover with Scooby Doo. I think it was season 13. Yeah, it was season 13. They did this Scooby Doo crossover. And because of that, I checked out a bunch of Scooby Doo movies and like the oldie TV shows from way back when, and like binged all of those before watching the Scooby Natural episode. Anyways, I digress. I love Scooby Doo. I think that's the point. So when I saw that there was a Scooby Apocalypse book last year, I read the first two that we had in the system, in the library system, and then we didn't have 3 or 4. So once those got in, I checked those out, read them, and then I have book 5 on hold. I don't know if it's in that yet. Anyways, this series is about the Scooby Gang. It doesn't give a time, but I believe it's somewhere in the near future. And everyone, I mean, okay, Scooby, Shaggy, and Velma all know each other, and then Fred and Daphne know each other, and then at the start of the book, they meet up, and because of different circumstances, basically, there was a virus sent out in the first book that spared the gang and a few other people, but the virus kind of mutated humankind. It's really good, really interesting. I really loved it. Definitely give it a look if you're interested, if you ever loved Scooby Doo. But I will say it does switch some things up. So if you really want to keep like the 70s Scooby Gang in your mind, don't read this. Another thing I will say is the art itself, because it is a graphic novel. I noticed there was a change. Again, I read the first 2 last year, and then 3 and 4 now. I know there was a change. I noticed there was a change in the artwork of the gang between 3 and 4. I don't know if there's a change between 1 and 2 or like 2 and 3, but between 3 and 4, I could tell that the art for the gang changed. So that kind of threw me off because Shaggy's face looked different. I'm like, what is going on? That's pretty much the only criticism I have for that, really. The next book I read this month, again, wasn't a LGBTQ plus book, but it's a book I was reading with a friend of mine, and that is called We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. I If I mispronounced the last name, I'm sorry. I believe I talked about this in my BookCon video because I think I got it there. But anyways, this is a book about Zafria and Nasir. Zafria is just a commoner in a village, and she hunts in the forest to keep her people alive because they're starving. And Nasir is the prince of the Sultan? Yeah, Sultan. So there's the Sultan, and then there's the caliphs. The caliphs are like, if you're in the States, it's like the Sultan is the president, and the caliphs are like the governors type thing. That's kind of how I think of it. But Nasir is also referred to as the Prince of Death because he's an assassin on the behest of his father. Yeah, it's a little messed up. Anyways, this is the first in the series. This book specifically talks about going to, let me get the map out because there is a map. Going to Shar, which is in the Isle of the Barents Sea. So here's the map. And you'll see, and I hope you saw that there was a kind of like the dark place around the Barren Sea. That's called the forest, also called the Az Azur, I think. And it's enchanted. It's a enchanted forest. So the fact that um, our main character Zafira can hunt in there is kind of miraculous because she's the only known person to do that. So it talks about both of them meeting on the that island and trying to bring back magic and relationships and family drama and magic and elf-like creatures and a Middle Eastern feel. It's a fantasy book, but a very Middle Eastern Arabic feel, and I really like that feel. I don't know what the nationality of the author is. She's described as an American Muslim, um, which is amazing. And so American Muslim, which would like explain why it feels very Middle Eastern Arabic feel. I am glad though that it is a series because it left off in kind of a cliffhanger. And the last book that I hope to finish by tomorrow, by tomorrow, is We Contain Multitudes by Sarah Henstra. I think I got this at BookCon, possibly. I kind of went on an LGBTQ plus buying binge there, so this might possibly be from BookCon. Anyways, this is told in letter format. The two main characters are two boys, and they're starting this pen pal between different English classes. So there's one teacher that teaches a few different English classes, and she decides that her classes would be pen pals for like the first semester or whatever. So that's how your two main characters meet, whose names are Jonathan Hopkirk and Adam Kurlansky. Jonathan is the more reserved one, who likes Walt Whitman, and Adam Kurlansky, aka Carl, is a football player who gets kicked off the team. Um, and so they're writing these letters to each other, and they finally meet and stuff happens, but throughout the whole thing, it's letters, and I really like it because then you like see the timestamps, which, if you haven't noticed with me, is a big thing because I love knowing how long something's taking place, like the time frame of everything. That's why I like Lord of the Rings because in the back there's a freaky timeline of every single age. Again, I'm almost done with this. This is the front of the book. I'm almost done with it, and because it's in letter form, I hope to finish it today or tomorrow, hopefully, so that when July hits, I can start anew and then start anew for Reading Rush and all of that fun stuff. But this has been a really long video for only like 10 books, so I am sorry about that. Um, but if you have any questions about anything I just said, check my Goodreads or click down below and leave some comments like always. And I will see you later. Bye.